Stay tuned to find out why the future of our planet rests in part on how we organise our cities, why the power of the law is one of the most effective ways in which we can protect life on Earth, and what percentage of the oceans needs protecting in order for it to have a chance of recovering. Hello and welcome back to Green Pages, episode 8. So I've just finished reading Given Half a Chance, 10 Ways to Save the World by Edward Davey. From the solar panels in Nevada to Britain's inspiring waste campaigners, you're going to get insight into things happening all around the world which you'll never get to hear about in the news. So what was the first key takeaway from this book? Well, for me, it was learning more about why the future of our planet rests in part on how we organise our cities. If we take a step back and look at the stats, by 2050, it's predicted that 3 out of 4 citizens will be living in cities. That's why we've got to make cities part of the solution, because this is the environment most of us will be living in, particularly as we start to deal with the consequences of climate change. The great thing in this book is you'll get to learn some real world examples, such as the Copenhagen finger plan model, exactly how it sounds, the finger plan model, and how organising the city in that way makes it better for its citizens and for reducing things like pollution and congestion and what we usually associate with cities. I was really surprised to learn in this book that 47% of London is actually green space, and they have over 8.4 million trees, and that's growing. Poorly planned cities lead to overcrowding, congestion, resource mismanagement, great pollution, loss of habitat, and even negative consequences on human health. On the other hand, well-designed cities bring around clear benefits. So the second key takeaway from this book was how the power of the law is our greatest ally in order to save the planet and to protect life on Earth. Voted one of the top 10 environmental heroes in the UK, James Thornton is founder of Client Earth. And if you haven't heard of Client Earth, I can only recommend you check them out, because ever since I discovered them in this book back in March 2020, when I first read it, I have been following them and donating ever since. An incredible NGO that is really worth checking out. So here's just a few of Client Earth's wins for the planet. Number 1 was in 2010, they took the UK government to court over illegal air pollution levels, not once, not twice, but 3 times. They also have introduced laws to protect the oceans. They have been involved in the last few years in organising environmental trainings for prosecutors and judges in China to help those environmental based lawyers and teams in order to hold those companies to account over there. And they've been involved in protecting Europe's oldest forest from illegal logging and deforestation. The third key takeaway from this book is about the oceans and what percentage of it needs protecting in order to have a chance of recovering. And I'm going to ask you 2 questions, if that's cool. So the first question is, what percentage of the ocean does the science tell us needs protecting in order for it to have a chance of recovering? Have a guess. 5%, 10%? The answer is 30%. 30% of the ocean needs to be protected in order for it to have a chance of recovering. So let's ask a different question. What percentage of the ocean is currently protected? 2%. 2% of the ocean is currently protected. What a gap. The science is telling us that 30% of the oceans need protecting in order for even to have a chance of recovering. Yet we still have 2% of the oceans currently protected. That gap just blew my mind when I learnt that through this book. My favourite part of the book was actually the very back. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But the further reading section at the very back, at the when the book's finished. Let me explain before you judge me as to why that was my favourite part of the book. It's because it's an amazing reading list and recommendations. So, for example, the way Edward does it is he breaks it down by sort of discipline or by interest. So for example, let's say I'm really interested in learning more about renewables. There's a renewables section that you can kind of go through. If I'm really interested by forests or by water or by soil or by biodiversity or waste, solutions for waste, there's a specific reading list that Ed's put together in which you can kind of home in on what you're really, really passionate about, or where your interest and attention's drawn to. This guy just popped in to say hi. So what did this book inspire me to do next, Arlo? What did it do? It inspired me to buy the book Client Earth. And if you haven't heard of Client Earth, guys, check them out online. They've got loads of videos on YouTube as well. Would I recommend this book? Absolutely. It was a really good overview of like sort of the overall, like the book says, 10 ways to save the world. It doesn't go into huge amounts of detail. As you can see, the thickness of the book isn't huge. I really like how the book was laid out. So you've got the 10 different paths. You've got renewables, you've got forests, you've got soil, water, biodiversity, ocean, cities, waste, people, action. So 10 paths to a brighter future is a really great way that Edward's laid this book all out. Thanks for joining me for episode 8 of Green Pages, 10 Ways to Save the World with Edward Davey. On my next Green Pages episode, I'm going to be reviewing a book called Client Earth, which was started by James Thornton just with a laptop in his bedroom, and he's since grown it to a team of 200 people across 50 countries.